Hey there everyone and welcome to another Near Monsters video. In this video we're going to talk about all the shadow monsters that came out in 2021. That is from anniversary to anniversary, so it was the end of October last year, 2021, a few months later with this one. But anyway, so if you haven't watched the previous ones, I've already done the Earth, Fire and Holy. In the Earth one I talked in general about stuff, and then in the Fire one I included the cycles of monsters from this year. So if you want to see that kind of stuff, go check out those videos. Otherwise, you know, the whole series is definitely something to watch through in its entirety rather than just this video. This video is going to be set up like the other videos. So the first section I'm going to give an overview of Shadow and the themes in the element, just to refresh our mind of what Shadow generally seems to be like. And then second, I'm going to talk about the new monsters. 2021 was the year of stun protection. I can't actually remember at this point whether or not we've got some good ones in Shadow coming up. But certainly in the other elements, at least, there was, amazing stun protection that came out this year. And then the last section, we're going to talk about some of the notable additions that came out and the general power level of the new monsters. So the links in the description to get to everything, as with all my videos. So, looking first at the overview of Shadow, here we've got all the monsters. And the new things this year, we've got 4 new Mythics, 6 Legendaries, and 2 Super Epics. Shadow seems to just get loads of monsters. Like every year, it's got the most Legendaries and Mythics in total. Not every year, but you know, we got quite a few. In general, it has mostly high attack monsters, but this year we actually got a lot of high defense. You know, I've mentioned in the previous videos how we've been getting generally tankier monsters. And yeah, the new Shadow ones are kind of with higher defense. Bear in mind, I'm talking mainly here about Legendaries and Mythics, not the Super Epics and below. That's the same case for all my videos. When I'm talking about the elements and stuff in general, and the kind of the new additions and things and stats and all that kind of stuff, I'm looking at Legendaries and Mythics. I don't log the Super Epics and below. They typically come with like higher defense anyway, because they're trying to account for the lower health. Shadow has average speed of the elements, so you know, looking at all the speeds of all the Legendaries and Mythics together, they come out average. The thing I'm meaning there when I say with some quite slow and some quite fast, if you look at the summary table in the middle section, the speed, we've got the columns there labelling the speeds, and you'll see that the biggest numbers are in the 31 to 50% and 66 to 80%. They are 19 and 12. Basically, it's kind of like either side, you know, they don't really have so much of the middle bit, but they have a bunch which are like reasonably slow, and then a bunch which are reasonably fast, but they don't have so much of the other ones. That's just notable compared to the other elements, and you definitely feel it if you build a Link Shadow team. It tends to be that there are some reasonably fast monsters, but not many very fast ones, and then there's a bunch which are like quite slow. Yeah, that's just how they end up coming together. And then types wise, they've got lots of demons, dragons and phantoms, as you'd expect in Shadow. So let's have a look at the themes. The first theme to talk about is the guaranteed kill theme, as I like to call it. I can't remember if I called it that last year, but anyway, that's what I'm calling it this year. So this is like through various effects. You know, each element has some bit of this, but Shadow has a lot of it. And so on the left-hand side, these all kill an enemy guaranteed through some kind of move or passive. If we just look at Asmodee, it's got Bow Out, which like kills anything guaranteed if it's been in there for 200 seconds. It's a 70-second move, it's very fast, punishing for that. We've got like the Guardian Execute on Tuggle, Killing Spree on Uranium Deus, Idis, and then there's Tortogeist with the passive, I think it's called Spirit Possession. So when it gets killed by something, then it kills that enemy. Skeleviathan in the middle with Petrify, that's very similar, but I did put it in its own classification because creating a rock in the enemy team is mechanically different. You know, you can abuse that kind of stuff. And then on the right hand side we've got Death Sentence. There's a lot of Death Sentence in Shadow. So altogether you can see there's quite a few monsters that come into this. The other elements definitely don't have this many for these kind of effects. Shadow hinges on it quite a bit, at least in design. So the next we have Poison Theme. So I've split this into a bunch of categories. On the left-hand side, these have it as a revenge. They're generally speaking not so much poison monsters. At the bottom, I put summon poison because what's its name? Spectrafin doesn't itself have poison. It has poison massacre, but it's the Spectra wing which it creates that does the poison, and only after 100 seconds. It's kind of a weird roundabout way of doing it, but it fits with poison teams at least. Then we've got the minor poison, just a couple of monsters that it's not really a big deal about the monsters, but they do poison enemies. And then we've got the major poison. So this is kind of the main kind of bulk of what poison is in Shadow. And there's quite a few monsters there. You might remember from 2 years ago when I first made this video, and I talked about how Shadow doesn't really have a whole lot in poison, but over the years it's definitely picked it up. Like Shadow has a lot of poison in it and can very much support it very well. So yeah, these major poison monsters, there's a lot of them. There's a couple which are link in there, I think a couple. At least one. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, bunch of poison monsters. Poison is a theme in Shadow. It's also got some poison immune, you might have noticed in the top right corner there. Yeah, there's quite a lot of poison immune. I wouldn't say enough to really call it a theme or sub-theme, but you know, it's noticeable in Shadow that it's got a bunch of poison immune. It fits with the mark as well. And then the last theme to talk about, so sub-theme, is the AoE spam sub-theme. So Shadow, it has kind of these highly aggressive monsters, and so it kind of fits that it has this AoE spam idea. So this mainly comes from the right-hand side, which you can see is Nova Drake, Onyxia, and Demon Toad. So Onyxia's fit, you may wonder why I've got that there. That is because it's got this dreaded wave, which, giving turn to that can just reduce the enemy's health by a lot, but it also makes it a lot easier for Assisted Dusk, that's the assisted hit all, to kill enemies. So you can use the dreaded wave, and then an Assisted Dusk will finish off the enemies very nicely. Demon Toad can enrage something to double its attack, which means the Assisted Dusk stuff just does really well. And then on the left hand side we've got a bunch of different things that do well with it. You know, Uranium Idus is very nice for it because if you can get kills on that and then give turn to it, it can do Killing Spree and get 3 more instant kills. Persephia is very nice too, because if she can get kills, then she now actually has Slash All, so she can, I think it's with 4 kills, then she can one-shot stuff. And then, you know, one-shot all the enemies, you can give turn to her and just keep one-shotting off enemies. Yeah, there's some cool build-around type stuff. AoE spam is what we called it, and it's a thing in Shadow, not really in the other elements, but it's quite good fun. And a lot of newer players use it with like Nox Dragon, Nova Drake, and Demon Toad, which you can see on the screen, because Nox Dragon and Demon Toad everyone gets. So it's just the Nova Drake that you need, and then you've got that set up. The other thing I wanted to mention, in the top right you can see Necromancy minor theme. I mentioned this in the last video. Shadow's the other element which can do some reviving type stuff, and it can revive enemies as well, a bit more so. So yeah, it's got that in it too. So that gave you an overview of the kind of things going on in Shadow. Now let's have a look at all the new monsters that came out. So first we have Crystal Worm Aether. This I covered at length in the Fire video. At the beginning of that I talked through the cycles, so I'm not going to talk about it here. If you want to see about the crystal worms and everything, go to that video, and there's actually a link in the description to skip forwards to the crystal worms, where I explain how they all work and then go through each one in great detail. So the super which we're actually going to talk about first is Shiny Halodry. Halodry? Dry? I kind of want to call it, say it the German way of dry. Anyway, yeah, so this monster, it's not very good. It's a fun little spin on something. It was the anniversary monster, I think. Like the free giveaway, super epic. And this has one niche which it fits, and that is it has Gravity Field with Knockback Next and Protect Teammates. So this can fit certain PvE battles when you want that particular combination of moves, where Gravity Field is important, Protect Teammates could be important. You know, it says reasonable speed, so it can, like, you can purposefully set up the enemies to kill this first and not be able to knock back or whatever, but you're also knocking back the thing next in line. there's a certain combination of moves here which can come up in some battles. That said, you don't want it just for random battles, because the only damage move is Slash All, which is fine, but like nothing amazing. It hasn't got brilliant defense. It's just got Protect and Accelerate. It's got Shield Entrance. Like it works, but it's not on the power level that you want for anything. So it's kind of like a sort of lower tier super epic kind of power level, and just has some support stuff basically. But yeah, when it fits for a particular battle, then I think it's pretty cool. So I think it's a nice addition. The kind of super epic which is actually quite good for a veteran like me to pick up, where I'm probably not going to use most super epics I get, but this one I can see, yeah, there might be like some time attack battle or something that I want to use it for. So next we have the first legendary, which is Shiny Bunker Beast. You'll see there's a bit of a theme, some shiny monsters. So this is, in my mind, not as good as the other Bunker Beast, and I think it goes to show what a bad Mortar Monster looks like. So people kind of overrated this a bit when it first got shown, because it has stun immunity, and stun immunity is very useful in PvP. It's difficult for me to describe without going back and forth on it a lot, because basically it's kind of overrated in some ways, but then you do need it, and it makes the monster better when it has it and stuff. Like, it's great, but it's not kind of like, it doesn't like launch the power level of the monster to just be way higher, because I mean, as I said earlier, this year has got amazing stun protection options which fill the slot that then mean you don't need a load of stun immune monsters. So the stun immunity on this is not amazing, and then it means, and it has the problem of Mortar Monsters that it has to load and wait ages until it gets another turn before it can do something. It also doesn't have the instant reload, which, Swift Load Ally is basically comparable to that, but it's still a little bit slower, and so what this does is just basically load and Piercing Mortar back and forth. Like, Healing Mortar Rule does more damage here than it does on the other Bunker Beast, because this has higher attack, but it doesn't do enough to the point that, like, it actually kills things, really. Knockback Mortar is, like, somewhat useful, but bear in mind you're putting 180 seconds worth of time into doing that knockback, and that's the problem with Piercing Mortar 2, is it's 180 seconds to do that, which, for a Mortar Monster to actually really do that kind of slow attacking effectively, it needs to have some way to build around it, or have some option, some move on it, which really does something powerful. And what we have here is just basically killing and knocking back something. That's not good enough. Like, that's kind of similar power level to what we saw on the super epic that I cannot remember now the name of, but that has like pullback mortar, and it has like a hit all and stuff, and its stats get altered based on its HP. But basically Bunker Beast is on a similar kind of power level to that, I would say, and that's a super epic. So yeah, this monster, I don't think it works very well. What made the normal Bunker Beast work really well is it's got sleep immunity, so you can use it with sleep stuff, with one-on-one basically, and it stays awake, and that's kind of its niche. This doesn't have a niche, and so it's just like a sort of basic Mortar Monster that does the job, but not particularly well. So yeah, that's my stance on it. Yeah, let's move on. So Garden Fairy Violet, this I talked about at length in the Fire video, because it's one of the cycle ones there, and it's actually one of the more critical ones to it. So what I'll be saying here is just as its use outside of Garden Fairy teams, in general teams. And what this does is it's mostly around the Decay aura. So it's like basically a better auto poison. It triggers Overwatch and stuff, but mostly it's just going to be better auto poison because they can't remove it. And as soon as Violet hits the battlefield, it's on. It's not like auto poison where the water poison monster comes in and then you've got to kill enemies, and it's only those newly entering monsters that get poisoned. So she counters stealth, she counters shield, she counters hold ground, all that stuff just passively. And then she's got Dual Slayerbane, which isn't incredible damage, but it's good damage. And if her health is a bit lower, then it just one-shots things. So she's like a really annoyingly disruptive monster that's quite a good sweeper. And for that reason, it is definitely very good. You can see I've put her as S in PvP. I think she's among the top legendaries in PvP. even for, just general use we're talking about here, not Garden Fairy use. And it's for that Dual Slayer Bane with Decay Aura, pretty much. Like, that's what it's mostly about. The Vigor Double Piercing Blow, I'm not a huge fan of, because it reduces her health by a lot, so she becomes very easy to kill off. It also doesn't one-shot things, really. So I would personally say you should, if you're using her in the front line, well, basically, she's not going to work as well in the front line, because things won't really have kills at that point. But later in the team, she works very nicely just because you can focus on that Dual Slayer Bane, mostly, rather than having to use the Vigor Double Piercing Blow move. So yeah, strong monster, very, very good for certain setups, the way how it gives your team sort of pseudo-piercing, the way how they don't get stopped by shields and hold ground. Next we have Geocosma. Now this is one that I may even put this higher in the tier list. It's very strong. This is like a modern style protector in the fact that it's a sweeper. So auto protect and hold ground is just a solid combination for being annoying and in the way. It's got high defense too, high HP because it's got the low speed. So it's difficult to kill. And then when it gets a turn, it gives you a lot of value. Because it's got double fast strike and stealth bane, that means that it can pretty much always kill one or two monsters. There's not much that gets in the way of this killing something, because stealth doesn't work, it's stealth bane. And then if they don't have stealth, well then you can double fast strike. So the fact also that double fast strike is 200 seconds doesn't matter that much, because normally you'd put your monster really far out of play, and then the opponent would just leave it alone. They just, leave it out there, it will slowly come back into play, and then they'll kill it before it gets a turn. But because this has auto protect, you don't care about it being so far out of play, because they've still got to hit it, and they'll hit it and kill it off before it gets another turn. That's fine, because it's got its value. It did double fast strike, it killed 2 enemies, and then it absorbed some attacks, and didn't slow your team down. So, yeah, this monster works really well. It's got Payback Killer as well, which is this, I would say, the ideal way for getting Payback Killer into the PvP meta, to try and counter some of the annoying, the really problematic revenges, is slap it onto a monster which already has a good moveset, is already the kind of thing people want to play with, and then it's just, it's just on there. It can also shield itself, which sometimes comes up, making it tankier. If you can combine this with healing, it also works very nicely. If they can't kill it off easily, it's a tanky monster with auto protect, so shielding itself, healing with other things, it can actually become a problematic protector. And then the Instant Purify secret skill, I really like. I don't see many people with that on. I've noticed scenarios where they should purify, and it's got a turn and then they don't. For example, it works well against 1-on-1, where it will hopefully be hit after the 1-on-1 because it's got auto protect. And then now, because sleep only passes 50 seconds, it's difficult for the opponent to hit it and kill it off, given that it has high defense and hold ground. To actually hit it and kill it off before it gets a turn is tricky. And then it's got the Instant Purify. So Instant Purify really nicely counters 1-on-1 if you're using this in the front line. And otherwise, like I said, very, very good functional moveset for killing enemies, on top of being a tanky protector. It's one of the strongest protectors for PvP, and we see it a lot, and I'm not surprised. I think we're going to continue to see this monster in PvP a lot for a long time to come. Next we have Shiny Heaven's Worm. Now this one I'm not so much a fan of, you can see in the tier list. I put it in E for both. Yeah, it's basically lost what made normal Heaven's Worm good, and the only niche I can see it filling is for shadow teams that want healing, like Link's shadow teams that want healing, because they can't use the normal Heaven's Worm, or some other kind of healing stuff because they need to use shadow. So this can combine well with certain other shadow monsters like Nova Drake or Focal Force, that kind of thing. But otherwise, I don't really see a big use for it. So I'll say briefly, Camouflage has been turned into an entrance, so it can't be used in the front line. Stun Wave, which was a really good move, is now Stun Pulse, which would be fine if it had some kind of Time Strike or something like that, or if Time Strike was common in Shadow. It's not particularly common in Shadow, but yeah, so that's quite a weak stun move to have that doesn't synergize with the moveset. And then Healing Light, that's kept the same, that's good. Survivor kept the same as well, but you haven't got a good way of passing time because you lost the stun wave, you only got stun pulse here. And then Link Shield All, that's also not been changed, so that's a good move. The speed of Heaven's Worm, I can't remember if it's been lowered here or if it's the same. I have a feeling it's been lowered because I think this was the original speed of Heaven's Worm, and then I think it got increased to like 82 or something. I might be wrong with that, but this is a reasonably high speed Link Shield All, but you can't use it in the front line. So it can kind of come in, heal the team, stealth itself, then shield the team, and then it can kind of stun pulse and then just wait for Survivor. But like things don't really line up. It doesn't have a whole lot going on. I think this needs a bit more. I think it should have had like Link Survivor Plus, which only needs 150 seconds and is 70 seconds move? I can't remember exactly. Also a stronger move. Like that would make it great, and I think that would fit with Shadow better, because then it's like more like a sweeping version of Heaven's Worm, which is, you know, Shadow is like the really aggressive element. So I think it would work nicely with that, and then also that would justify nerfing the camouflage to camouflage entrance and stun wave to stun pulse. But anyway, we're not talking about how to correct monsters here, we're talking about how they work, and this one just isn't that good. Next legendary is Lunactia. Now this one is very, very good. I actually talked about this a reasonable amount in a recent-ish video, like it was a few months ago, when I talked about like the best legendaries in the game. So yeah, I will reiterate some stuff though. What makes this super strong is enemy substitute more than anything else. It's like a repulse on an enemy, but an even more powerful repulse, because you're not bringing in a new monster, you're bringing in a rock that just does nothing. So it's really horrible disruption for the enemy team, plus also you can abuse that rock with having teammates with True Hit, which, bear in mind, True Hit's one of those things that, like, you have it on a monster, you can only use it, and it'd be good if the enemy team has a protector, which you don't have any control over, because you know, you don't know what they're going to be running. However, here, you're giving them a protector. So you're literally setting up your own True Hit to then kill around stuff. And Lunactia is good speed, max defense, stun immune, and no killer weaknesses. Which means it's really hard to kill or stop. And so it can easily get a turn, then enemy substitute, and just one use of that is very powerful. But it has 3 uses, so bear in mind it will get blocked as a move, but if you're building a team, constructing a team to just hit around rocks, hit around protectors, then it doesn't really matter if it gets blocked by the rock, because you'll still add that second rock into it. So then it just means that you'll kill one of the enemies, and then the rock that you repulsed comes back in, and then they have 2 rocks. So this, just by itself, can set up what we call a rock lock, where you put the enemy team into just rocks, and you keep hitting around them and killing the newly entering monster. So yeah, it does that kind of by itself, and it also has some potential with ally substitute. You can use it with cannibalized token, that kind of stuff, or otherwise just, but basically it's to save a teammate or reuse an entrance, that kind of stuff. So that's got some, you know, combo potential. Assassinate obviously works from the creating a rock in the enemy team. You can then assassinate. You also got Slayer Bane, which is like a fine move. It's not particularly damaging because this has low attack, but if you use Lunactia with other bugs, she gets the excessive force, which means Slayer Bane does good damage. I can't remember exactly how much it does, whether it's like enough to one-shot with things. I think it's like 4,500. So I think it one-shots legendaries but not mythics. And Assassinate obviously becomes very good there. So yeah, there's like some really cool stuff you can do with this, and it's stupidly good. The secret skill as well. You can kill off some dead weight in your team, which could be the rock that you make with ally substitute, although the seconds wouldn't really line up. But yeah, you can make a Pupiper, which, do bear in mind, you can really slow down the enemy team with Lunactia, which means that a Pupiper has a better chance of actually turning into the moth. For that reason, you can also use it with the normal Pupipers, not actually, you know, creating one. And you can use her to disrupt the enemy team, slow them down, getting the benefit of excessive force because the Pupiper is a bug, and then yeah, you could even create another PvP after the first ones become off. There's so many things you can do with this. It's clearly extremely powerful. I don't know why they gave it such good speed. Like, enemy substitute, surely that screams that this monster should be low speed, but it's not. So yeah, that's Lunactia, very, very good monster. Next we have the third and final shiny monster that is bad. Shadow got all the bad shiny monsters this year. I don't know why, but this is a version of Oak Thulu where they turn the double hitting moves into single hitting moves. They increase the attack stat on it, but it's not enough. So otherwise the moveset is basically the same. It just has Survivor, Poison Siphon and Repulse switch from double into single, but the damage on those tends to be kind of less. Repulse obviously that doesn't matter for, but yeah, it makes it weaker really. Like there's some debate between whether a single attacking move or double attacking move is better based on control. Like keeping control of the battle is easier when you're doing single target attacks, but the damage on Poison Siphon is a lot lower. Survivor, yeah, okay, fine, I can get behind that one. But single Repulse, I would say is weaker than double Repulse. Like having the ability to disrupt the enemy team so much from like double moves and stuff is just better. So yeah, it's not a very good monster. It's fine in PvE. Like I have it a lot higher in PvE because it still has the instant Poison Flash, so it can still stun the enemy team loads, and combined with other stunner stuff can get to Survivor, do that kind of thing. But PvP you can't do that really reliably. So yeah. Oh, I should mention as well, it does get assisted Dusk. So rather than being just a hit all, it's assisted hit all, but that's not enough. Like you're not really going to be using that move. Now we move on to Mythics. The first Mythic is Grimoris. Now this is very strong. I've seen it slightly overrated though, so that may temper bias the way I'm going to talk about it. But it's very strong. So this is very high speed, but good defense and hold ground, which means that it's very difficult to kill before it gets a turn. And what it does, well, when it enters, it puts one enemy to sleep. Then when it gets a turn, it can guaranteed put other enemies to sleep if they have kills. That's with the Quell move, and that is stupidly fast. So in some situations, this can just really take over battle by putting all the enemies to sleep. The opponent basically has to play carefully against it, and that's where I think this can be slightly overrated. Is that when I've actually faced it in practice, you can see it there next to 9, you know it's going to come, so you're like, okay, it's one of those monsters, I need to make sure my monsters are lined up before it comes into the battlefield, so I can deal with it when it comes in. So the things, I know what has kills on my team, and what it can potentially quell, that kind of stuff, and that I'm not going to lose control of the battle when it comes in and does its thing. So I think it's manageable, and for that reason not overpowered, but it is very strong. So the Quell move is obviously the amazing one, that it comes in, does that, it already sleeps one thing, and then it can just sleep other things. And then it can Dream Crush for one kill. It needs one kill somehow, which you've pretty much got to do with Dream Crush, and that's another little downer on Grimoris, is while she can do all this really cool control stuff, she doesn't have good sweeping. It's very awkward to get there. So you need to get a kill with, say, Dream Crush, and then from there you can invoke and basically add kills to teammates. So you can give it to Grimoris, you need 2 more kills to charge the Bloodbath, or, you know, invoking a teammate to charge their blood moves, which I'll point out, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I said what I wanted to see in Shadow was them using their kills for something, either like using them up for some effect, or, you know, having some kind of like kill style theme thing. And this is exactly what Invoke is. I'm very happy to see it, and I think it's on a very cool monster for it as well, where this can activate the blood moves of teammates. And, you know, it's conditional. You need to have a kill first, which I think is a very smart way of doing it as well, especially because there's no easy way to get a kill on Grimoris. But, yeah, very, very powerful move. So she can get kills to things, and then, yeah, Bloodbath later on. Otherwise do Quell stuff. She punishes the enemy team if they ignore her and they try and kill the teammates, because then it's like, oh, you've got a kill now, well, go to sleep. So yeah, that's what she does. And Raw Toxic Killer, I'll say it's not very good damage because she's got low attack. So I don't know if you'd really want that move, but yeah, she is sleep control when she comes in. situationally can really take over a battle, but the opponent can play around her a bit. Also, if the opponent has protectors, it causes her trouble because she can't quell around the protector. Like, it doesn't work on the thing that blocks it. It only works on something if it has a kill. And the other thing as well that really counters it is any normal counter to sleep, any purify, poison, because you can only sleep an enemy one time with quell. So if Grimoires puts it to sleep, but then they purify, well then she's useless. She can't put them back to sleep again. And when you look at the rest of her moveset, she does like nothing. She needs the sleep to work as sleep control, and then from there do something. So if they have a counter to sleep, Grimoires really falls flat. But if they don't, she can situationally just completely take control of the battle and make you win. She's a bit hit and miss, if you like. The next mythic we have is Nightingale. This one is one that's probably underrated. It's very cool. I'm very happy about this, and it's kind of designed by some people in my clan. We were trying to come up with ideas, interesting ways of fixing stun. And what Nightingale does primarily is save you from a stun knock. And that is with the fact that she gets a turn instantly when she comes in, as long as some time's passed in the battle. But basically, you put her later on in your team. Then she comes in, she instantly gets a turn, and then she can dual rescuing give turn, which means you only need one monster stunned out of play, so you can use it with like a stun absorber, which, you know, they tend to get stunned further out of play, which will activate this more easily. But otherwise, if you've been stun locked as well, you can give turn to one that's stunned out of play far, and then one other teammate, and yeah, gives them the turn instantly. So it like immediately corrects any stun issues that you have on your team. Also, it's got instant purify, so it can immediately undo any sleep stuff or poison stuff on your team. Aegis barrier means that you can immediately heal and shield one of your teammates to help it stay alive, which, bear in mind, you can purify beforehand, so any poison, that will go, then you can heal and shield them. And yeah, that just does a lot. Like, that as options is amazing, and I think Nightingale works really well at the end of a team. Like, we're talking the kind of 14th to 16th slot, maybe 12th to 16th slot, where she can come in and fix whatever problem that your team is having at the time, which is very fitting because she's a nurse. And Nightingale, if you didn't know, Florence Nightingale, she's like heralded as the the first modern nurse, or the person who brought around modern nursing. So yeah, pretty cool design. I like what they did here with the design. It's all very fitting. So yeah, she can come in and fix those problems with those things. In terms of damage, this is where I think people underrate her. Is Double Dreaded Strike isn't a one-shot move. It's not an amazing damage move, but it's decent enough. It's quite effectively costed. Doing that to 2 enemies, you're effectively doing 60% of an enemy's HP for 130 seconds, which is all right. For a supportive monster that can situationally really help fix something. I think that's a decent fail case. And then Sedate here, it's very high seconds cost, but it's like a Slayer Break, basically. Something that has a kill, instantly kill that. It can't be redirected, so you can hit it around protectors as well. And the high seconds here doesn't matter so much because her being out of play, also the use limit of 2 doesn't matter so much, because her being out of play is less crucial when you're near the end of a battle, because normally the problem with having a monster really far out of play is that then it kind of slows down your whole team, because they're out of play, and then you're only playing with 3 monsters for the rest of the battle, and you need those new monsters to actually come in and get turns and do things and stuff. When you're near the end of the team, it's only going to matter for the next few monsters that come in, and after that, well, then it doesn't matter because she's not blocking anything else from coming in. So yeah, I think she's a very well designed monster that is actually very good, and that top teams which are built around Mythics and all the rest of it and want protection from loads of different things to try and keep their win rate up and not lose to certain things like stun lock or whatever. I think she's the kind of monster you can put in near the end of your team that will help you in a lot of battles which you could otherwise lose to. Yeah, really good monster. Just not amazing in the tier list because she's not incredible. She's just very good for those things. Now, the next thing to talk about is a monster that creates a token monster. So we're going to look at the token monster first, just quickly. Basically, when you're using it with Norsean, which is the monster we're about to look at, its stats are times by 5, and it has stun immunity. So that's obviously what you want it as. And it's going to be a tanky monster that then one-shots with Power Slash. Assisted Dusk can do amazing damage to all enemies. If you've got other Shadow monsters, I think it can one-shot all enemies. It's just that, do you want that control of Power Slash killing one enemy or killing all enemies? It's also got Bloodcrave, so this is kind of nice as well. If Norsean dies, but you've got a kill with Power Slash, or 2 kills, then you can be doing the Bloodcrave, so it can still kill after it's lost its stats boost. Then Link Taunt, so it can be a protector if you need that to be the case. Yeah, and bear in mind it will have stun immunity when Norsean's there. Also having sleep immunity means that it's like, really hard to disable if everything's going well. So that's what you're making. It's kind of like the sweeper thing that can be a protector, very high stats. Norsean itself, this I'm not a big fan of. I think it's a little bit too clunky. They've buffed it and tried to make it a little less clunky, which I think has helped a lot. But it's still a bit too slow with things and not as good as I'd like it to be. So it's reasonably tanky, hold ground, whatever. The main move about it is Link Demoralize, which is a kind of piercing... Yeah, it's a piercing thing that counters hold ground. And hold ground is obviously very common. So this is a 130-second move that can repeatedly pierce and kill hold ground monsters. I think that's quite nice, but we've seen better, and there is better on other monsters. You can also counter holy monsters, so between the two of them, it's going to find targets to kill. So it can kind of sweep stuff, but not amazingly. It's very restricted in what it can kill. And then it can make those spirit worms by killing off teammates. I guess what I would kind of like about it is if it could make them without having to kill teammates, maybe, or like if the secret skill was like a single use create one or something like that. I don't know exactly, but giving up teammates just makes it a little bit iffy with it. And yeah, then it can heal the team with a Link Cannibalize. It can shield a teammate with a Link Shield Ally. It's a Link Shadow monster. We saw on the Spirit Worm it had Assisted Dusk, so that kind of wants to be used with Shadow monsters too. But yeah, to me personally, it doesn't have amazing sweeping potential. It doesn't have amazing tanking potential, and it's very much a build around in that you want to kill teammates to make Spirit Worms, or to do the Link Cannibalize, and so you need to be building around it in a way where you want to kill teammates off, and I don't think the payoff is big enough, because I think the Spirit Worms are fine, but not amazing, and so for the effort you're having to go through to get to that point, I don't think it quite pays off enough to make this a good monster, and so that means the power level is low, like lower than other things, which for me in the tier list means that I just put it really low, because I'm like, there's no sort of situation I can imagine where this will actually be competing with the kind of power level which we're playing with other monsters at. But anyway, that's my take on this monster. It's very cool design, and I love the artwork. Absolutely love it. This is like Disikian, but Shadow version. And yeah, I think it had amazing potential somewhere along in the design. And I think they just, unfortunately, restricted it and nerfed it a bit too much. The thing that I want to mention here is that Spirit Worm conversion, that used to have the restriction that you could only do it on Legendaries or Mythics, which was like even more restrictive. Now we can use this on like Rockoids and that kind of stuff, so you can do that kind of building around, or you can have it like at the end of a throw team or something to try and use it there. Maybe there's some potential there, but I don't see it as a hugely powerful thing. I think there's better stuff if you want to do that, like Astra Golem, for example. We've got one more mythic to talk about, Wilhelmina. Now, I had a slightly controversial video that I brought out. This was the anniversary mythic, and I decided to record me hatching for the anniversary. And a slightly controversial video because in the second pack I got this twice, I think, or I got 2 mythics at least. Anyway, I think I got it twice in the second pack. And to begin with, when the video first came out, some people were very angry that I got so lucky, that I must have cheated or something. It was honestly, it was pure luck. I got this awakened in 11 packs. helped by the guaranteed one in the 10th pack, but yeah, got extremely lucky. I have not got that lucky on other Mythics, I promise you. It was just happened to be with this. Anyway, so this monster, this is really cool, this is really good. I don't know exactly where I'm going to settle it in the tier list. Like, A is where it is right now. I keep wanting to put it higher. This is just like the ideal team turn monster in my mind, and I've used it a lot, believe me, so I know really how this fits into things, and it works very well. So this has like decent speed for a team turn monster, and it has the perfect way for passing 50 seconds in Slayerbane, which, you know, it's not going to do the most amazing damage, but it's a decent move. You're not just like using it to pass the time like you would just spam Purify or something. No, you're using this and actually potentially killing an enemy, or, you know, maybe killing the thing that would kill Wilhelmina or whatever. Like, you're passing that 50 seconds perfectly to then do team turn, which team turn, as we know, is just really, really powerful. Putting all your monsters into getting a turn at that point. And yeah, this is just amazing for team turn. Also, you don't even have to use this with team turn. You could use it without. The benefit is it's lower cost, but also it doesn't have chrono weakness. So at that point, it's just a sweeper. However, having used it, I would say this is so good as a team turn monster that I would just accept that it's got chrono weakness. And yeah, just do it like that. So the Slayerbane, we've said, it's not amazing damage, but it's a pretty decent move, quite fast and stuff. Then you've got Retribution, which this is the weaker version of Retribution. It's the 100 seconds, which I found out more recently is weaker than the 130 seconds. Also, this has lower attack, so Retribution, again, it's quite good. It's stronger than Slayerbane, but it's not amazing. Fast Fury, though, this is a strong move, and this is kind of the main move that you use if you can. Anything that's stronger than 47% speed, which is roughly half the monsters that are used in PvP, may change over time because we've got slower and tankier monsters in general, and so if more people kind of go to those and turn away from the high-speed monsters, Wilhelmina may struggle to find targets for Fast Fury so much. But Fast Fury generally is, like, it finds targets and is a really effective killing move. And yeah, 100 seconds to kill something is very good. So between those three moves, the Fast Fury, the Retribution, the Slayerbane, she's not going to necessarily be one-shotting all the enemies, but she's going to have really reliable damage output, finding targets, dealing decent damage to try and kill things off. And she is a tanky monster with hold ground. She like just epitomises what monsters have been like this last year, of having that standard defense and hold ground and quite low speed. So yeah, she's quite hard to kill off, even though she's got the chrono weakness. And then Blood Crush is a good move. It's not like the most amazing thing, but if you can get 2 kills on her, if she's been around for a little while, you've got this piercing option. Or for monsters which are like not higher speed than her, the ones that are lower speed, you know, perhaps they're low speed monsters that are tanky with hold ground, Blood Crush will do the job. So she's got good sweeping moves, quite tough to kill, and can perfectly line up the team turn to just really do that very well. The only thing I'll say about her is jamming her in a team without any kind of building around her or anything means that the team turn may not be pulled off, especially because if people know you've got the team turn on, they'll target her and kill her before she pulls it off. So just throwing her into a team, she may not work particularly well. She may be one of the targets who just gets killed off before she really does much. She may get one turn, Slayerbane or Fast Fury or something, but like may not be the most impressive monster if you just jam her in there. If you've got any kind of like control stuff or just loads of things which are like high priority targets for the enemy team to take down that they can't prioritize and kill Wilhelmina, then she can be a really good sweeper. Like decent level sweeper, not like the most top level, but like a decent level of sweeping, with this team turn that can, you know, help swing a battle in your favour quite well. The other thing to mention is the intimidating entrance. This is basically a counter to Rocklock that we talked about earlier on with Lunactia. When Wilhelmina comes in, she will kill off any rocks that have been created in your team, any other random tokens. Sometimes it comes up with other monsters like Musashoid or Metoid or Bulby Boom, that kind of thing she can kill off. There's some building around that you can do with that, where you purposely have things that will be killed off, and then you have Wilhelmina come in, they die off, they count as kills for Wilhelmina, so it can charge Blood Crush. you can do that stuff, but personally I would say the main thing here is just using her as a sweeper with team turn. If you want to build around her, it's trying to help her get to her team turn. So yeah, that rounds it off for the Mythics. We end off with a really strong one that's a lot of fun and should be played in a lot of PvP teams. So the notable additions from this year, I would say these 5 monsters. We've got Geocosma, the really aggressive, very strong protector that is going to see play for a long time. We've got the really interesting aspect of what's it called? Grimoris. Granting kills to teammates. If you can set that up, if Grimoris works well, then she can do some really cool things. And granting kills to teammates, some monsters in the game obviously benefit from that massively because they've struggled to get the kills they need. And Grimoris can do it very efficiently, 70 seconds per kill granted. We've got Lunactia with just like insane disruption, ridiculously effective disruption. Even, you know, by herself setting up a rock lock alone, you just need the true hit monsters and stuff around her. Then the aspect which I picked out from Nightingale, the stun lock recovery. We've got lots of options for stun protection. We didn't see so many in this video, but stun protection is one thing. If they remove your stun protection and then stun you, well then there's not much in the game that actually helps you get back from that. But Nightingale is like the best option for helping you get back into the game from a stun lock. And I'm very happy to see her. We see a couple of other monsters which do a similar thing to her, to basically have a proper counter in the game to those stun lock teams. And then lastly, Wilhelmina, which we literally just talked about, that counters the bronze shells or rock lock type disruption by just removing them when she enters. And then also she is a new team turn. We have not seen a team turn monster for quite a while. I think we've seen maybe a Link team turn. Oh no, we saw Pandemonium and stuff, which is the sacrifice team turn and stuff. But yeah, I would say the best team turn monster in the game. Really, really well designed team turn monster. That I'm honestly kind of surprised to see the combination of stuff that she's got on her moveset. It's very, very good. And then we've got the Shadow Monster's strength. So one thing which I haven't talked about for the last few minutes, but I did mention as we're going through, the shiny monsters in Shadow. Oh, they were terrible. If you look at the Legendaries, PvE and PvP, there are 3 at the bottom there, which are the shiny monsters, just very low. And then we got the 3 which are actually like the new ones that aren't redesigns of all movesets that were good. So it's very much like a kind of like shiny one's bad, new one's good. And then when we look at the Mythics, basically some solid additions for PvP. Nothing too overpowered. Grimoris is the one that's like the biggest standout. Wilhelmina as well is very good. I don't know exactly where she would fit, but yeah, all 3 of those are solid additions for PvP. Grimoris being really good in PvE because she could just do a thing better. The only disappointment was Norsean, really. And then the Super Epics, like, fine, whatever. Nothing really great there. But yeah, so I think if you ignore the shiny monsters, that's ignoring the shiny Super Epic as well, I think we got some really good stuff this year. Shadow got a nice mix of things, very versatile. Lots of things to play around with in different teams and interesting new stuff. I mean, just going through it again very briefly, like Grimoris being that cool kind of like sleep control monster that can like really swing a battle. Wilhelmina being like a new take on team turn that counters bronze shell and rock lock. We've got Nightingale that counters stun lock. We've got Lunactia that has like crazy disruption, and then we've got Violet, Gone Fairy Violet, that has a new kind of take on auto poison that like activates as soon as she's on the battlefield. We've got Geocosma that's like a aggressive protector. All of these are like really interesting takes on things and really adding something new to the game. I think of all the elements and all the elements this year, Shadow was the one that for me was the most interesting in what it got, ignoring the shinies. So yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Shadow Monsters from 2021, and hope to see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching.